Joe Mazzulla on his approach at the beginning of the season and where it ended up. And Celtics are on WEEI to the playoffs. Begins Saturday, and they either get the number 7 seed in Miami or the number 8 seed in Atlanta. So
it's two journeys that we're watching in this postseason. One, a historic Bruins playoff run with the hopes of hoisting the cup, right? And the confidence that I think a lot of fans are like, they should be able to do it. And we kind of know where this team is going. With the other one, the question marks of where this team is going and what they're going to look like come the end of the playoffs. And can they get to that mountaintop to have us feel confident and about what they're doing? Because I think there's a lot of people's, not jobs on the line, but a lot of question marks, especially for this playoff run, of future for guys.
Meaning Mazzulla?
You don't get to if you don't get to the NBA Finals, I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, he's not the guy for the job."
You think just with one season under his belt too?
Yep.
Because I don't know, I go back and forth on that. If they had a great season. Yeah, they had ups and downs, but
Right.
if they make a run at it, maybe they don't make it to the finals, I don't think Mazzulla loses his job. I also think it's interesting right now because we talk about Ime, and I think you're in the group that would like the Celtics to keep the door open for an Ime return, because now you've got the Pistons and the Rockets both looking at Ime to fill their coaching job. So the fact that he's going to be back in the mix when it comes to NBA coaching, that I think will make a lot of players upset on the Celtics team that maybe the season.
I just don't think their perspective from Wick's point of view or Brad Stevens' point of view, I don't think they would have taken the interim tag off him if they didn't expect that he was going to be here. They're going to give him a long leash.
I don't think you're right.
Yeah, I agree with Curtis.
He will be, as Chris Carter would say, the fall guy.
Yep.
You think so?
Absolutely. This team, if they fall short of the NBA Finals, they will absolutely make a change. Because it looks like it was a mistake to remove the interim tag. The team scuffled for about 2 weeks right after that. And I believe they're trading Jaylen Brown this offseason.
Yep.
And you're going to have a new set of stars around Jason Tatum. And if they fall short, do you think Tatum's going to want to be the guy out front saying it was my bad? No.
And the only way, based off of last year, the only way where you can secure like Mazzulla's future and maybe the Jaylen Brown situation is extremely complicated. But at least
it's complicated now because he has stitches.
No, I'm just talking about his future, right? So let's say he doesn't get all NBA. Now we know, okay, he's not going to get the Supermax, but he'll still get the max, which is $248 million. But all the things that he said about being in Boston, playing for Boston, does he really want to be here? So, that thing is complicated. Mazzulla, if he doesn't get back to the NBA Finals, I'm with Curtis. He becomes the fall guy.
And I understand that Jason Tatum wouldn't want to go out and say, this is on me. He may have to. If Jason Tatum has the same type of fatigue as he did last season, if you're the leader of this Celtics team and you don't show up when it counts, then you do need to go in front of everybody and take the fall for it. I don't put that on on Mazzulla, because I didn't put it on Ime last season. If Tatum isn't what we need him to be in the postseason, and that's why we don't advance to the finals, that's not on Mazzulla, because we saw the same thing when Ime was the head coach with Tatum.
You can't have the same result when it comes to Jason Tatum.
No.
That you had last year. You can't. Fatigue is not an excuse.
No, you can have a bad game, but you can't have a bad series. That happens in the NBA all the time. You can have a bad game, but you can't have a bad series. You got to be like, okay, he kept them in this series. They lost, but he was able to keep them in this series. If that's the question, then the other question becomes, which then falls on Mazzulla. Is Mazzulla getting everything he should be getting out of Tatum? Right? So then that goes back to the fall guy.
But didn't you think Ime got everything that he could out of Tatum? That was Tatum's guy.
Right, but do you think that Tatum looked at Ime like, that's not my guy? I think it was more where people go, okay, Tatum had a bad series.
I just don't think you can use the same excuse one year if the year prior he had the same issue and we didn't blame the coach.
The excuse is going to change. The excuse is going to be that he would have been different if Ime was the guy. And these are just hypotheticals, conversations that we could be having. Because what did we all say? Ime was Tatum's guy. We know Mazzulla was Brad's guy. And so we don't know, and I'm not saying they don't have a great relationship, don't get it twisted, but we don't know how Tatum feels, and and we know just by looking at the Bruins, it's all about the relationship of the superstar player and the head coach.
You brought this up earlier, and I don't know. You don't know what Jaylen Brown's condition is going to be, right?
I don't know if it's on the palm of his hand. I mean, that's his shooting hand.
So I think you have to pray that they end up getting, matchup wise, they end up getting the Hawks that first series. He's got 5 days here, 6 days to heal up a little bit, and then that series, if you get the Hawks, I think it's much better than getting Miami.
Do you think they could hire a gardener for him?
Well, I think maybe Danielle could handle all of his indoor plants.
I mean, of all the things I've ever heard about injuries, that one is really at the top of the list for things I don't buy for a second.
You've never broken a vase in your home, Curtis?
I've broken everything. Do you ever notice when you take things out of the dishwasher and they're hot and they hit something and they break instantaneously? Oh, it's the worst. Yeah. But yeah, I break everything. I'm clumsy. I have horrible fine motor skills. But I've never watered plants and slashed my hand.
Yeah.
That seems like, especially if you're making $20 million a year, I would guess that you probably have someone that takes care of that.
And also, you're a player who may not be very happy here currently.
You are gruntled.
You are a gruntled individual.
That's why I feel like something might have happened. Maybe he hit a wall.
A lot of conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I think that's where people are.
We've been down this road before with Marcus Smart.
Yes.
Remember Marcus Smart had the issue with, and he said that what did he say? He punched a pitcher?
Yeah.
Or something along those lines. Like, well, why would you punch a pitcher? Now listen.
I'm still questioning the Puppygate incident. I think that was a cover-up.
I think the explanation on both is the same. Like, why would you go, if it didn't really happen that way, wouldn't you describe it in a way that made you look better?
But what other way could you make it look better?
I don't know. You were defending something. There was a robbery in progress, and somebody was breaking into a car.
No, that's a long way to go. Where's the suspect? Why did they catch this guy?
I was practicing at home, and I broke the backboard and was picking up that glass.
You practicing
Greg was really
at
an
home?
empire trying to go down the stairs.
So I think there's like a lot of things where people would say where it'd be like, how do you cut your hand? And where I think people have a lot from like the vase, I think a lot of people, you've broken stuff before, you tend to sweep it up. Maybe you picked it up, and if it's 5 stitches and it's a big gash.
Right. What were you doing where you were violently moving your hand toward a vase to the point that you have lacerations all over it that required stitches? Like if you're watering your plants, you're taking the water, pouring it gently over the top of the plant or into the soil.
Unless you didn't know that the vase was broke. And when you grabbed it, there was like a jagged edge there. So, but I don't know. But that you start to factor all these things in. And now Jaylen Brown, he's not going to be the same. Even if he comes back Saturday, he's going to be dealing with this hand injury. So he's not going to be fully healthy for,
Well, but it's not like he lost a finger.
No, but it's a shooting hand.
And stitches-wise,
Yeah.
like that, I understand that they've come a long way. They dissolved now, but at the same time.
Like when Brady had his hand messed up in Jacksonville, that's a big part of a guy, and it was his throwing hand, and that was a giant gash. So it takes
We're talking about humans, not gods.
So, and obviously Jaylen Brown is human, unlike Brady. So it's going to take you some time for that thing to heal on, every time he goes in for a dunk. Now he might not go in for a dunk. He's going to have to go in a little bit easier to lay it in. If it is on the palm of his hand, it's his shooting hand. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to be dribbling. So,
and good note in the Twitch chat from Game Dog. It's not like he severed an artery and died, because I think that's what we thought. I thought he severed an artery and bled out. I think we need Dwight to investigate this like he did Daryl's fall. I think that's how we get to the bottom of the vase gate.
But just some of these questions, right? And so if they don't,
Game Dog is just saying that it's just 5 stitches, so that it shouldn't be that big of a deal when it comes to Jaylen Brown.
It's 5 stitches on your shooting hand, right? If it's 5 stitches on his offhand, okay. But that goes to the bigger question of that's why with them, if they don't get to the NBA Finals, aren't there going to be massive questions all over the place? Is Mazzulla really the guy? Did he get the guys to buy in? They had the number 1 seed and they blew it. Like all those type of things. Jaylen Brown, is he coming back? What's the organization going to do?
You want to talk about pressure with the Bruins. The pressure is going to be on Jason Tatum and Jason Tatum alone. I understand all the guys are going to want to get back there, but he is the leader, the MVP. He heard it all season.
But you're telling me pressure don't matter.
Well, but you're telling me that you're going to blame the coach.
No. But I said it's going to be a lot of pressure on him too.
Yeah. There's going to be pressure on Jason Tatum because if he does the same fatigue
I'm not
issues,
blaming the coach.
You said if
I'm saying there's a narrative
that he doesn't want to play for that guy.
Right, but there'll be people saying that.
But based on where both teams were preseason, expectation-wise, you say if the Bruins don't win the Stanley Cup after this, then it's the biggest choke job ever.
Yes.
Can't you argue that the Celtics would be a bigger choke job having been to the finals last year?
Well, no, they're going to be right up there. You went from a finals team last year to now, unless you go back to the finals, you got bounced in the Eastern Conference Finals or you got bounced in the second round. So yes, it's a massive, massive fumble on both ends, right? I think the choke job gets highlighted a little bit more from the Bruins only because you set the single season wins record.
No, the Celtics is a choke job not getting the number 1 seed. Like they choked a little bit regular season wise.
Right, but what when you look at it from like when we remove ourselves, like remove yourself from being a Celtics and Bruins fan, and you remove yourself and you then look back and you go, one team had the best record in all of the NHL, and the other team was a 2 seed. Right? I don't think people are going to be looking at last year and that type of thing. They're going to be focused on this year.
In this year, the Celtics choked because for most of the season they had the 1
So
seed.
what's a bigger choke? Not winning the Stanley Cup Finals
after making history books?
But yeah,
I would say that the Celtics probably. The Bruins.
You guys are crazy.
Because the Bruins have given us so much already this season. The Celtics choked mid-season. At the end of the season, we fell off.
Right.
That was
so
the
I
issue.
think at the end of I think midway through the season, we thought, I think a lot of our expectations.
Maybe the impact isn't felt as hard because it's not in a Stanley Cup Finals.
But I'm saying midway through the season, a lot of us were like, the Celtics team, I don't have confidence. Right now, today, where we stand, are there a lot of people out there that believe that the Celtics can get to the NBA Finals?
No, I don't think so.
Are there a lot of people that believe the Bruins can get there?
They should be getting there again. And you should, if you're Jason Tatum, all you heard up until I guess when he won the MVP at the All-Star game was that he's the MVP this season.
Yeah, but what's the difference?
What do you mean?
The difference is it went the other way. They lost their coach, and there's been all this kind of hoopla around this team after the All-Star break. Right, our expectations have changed on the Celtics. With the Bruins, they changed their coach, and in the beginning, our expectations weren't high, maybe. But now, where they are, the expectations are through the roof. Courtney's even said it. I mean, there are a lot of people that think like you, Courtney, that this is it. Bruins going to win the Cup. Ain't nobody going to beat them. So if you have that season and you don't win the Cup, the way Bruins fans are, you don't think they're going to be calling it a massive choke?
I think they'll be massively disappointed. Both teams, for very different reasons, have a ton of pressure on them. And both teams may never be the same if you think that Jaylen's done in Boston with the Celtics, and we know that this may be Bergeron's final year with the Bruins. So it's kind of a win now. And for the coach, I mean, for Monty too. I mean, he turned it around, but if he's like Cassidy and they don't get to the Cup final or they lose, he'll be given the same heat that Cassidy was.
Right, but I think they'll say, he choked last year, but he's got a bunch of those guys next year. Beginning of the season, expectations will be high for the Bruins. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the expectations.
Unless they're like bounced in the first round or something, but that's not happening.
Right, so the expectations next year, but it'll be a major, major disappointment for a lot of Bruins fans. Because I think, Greg, you said it. Did they ever lose in a 7-game series throughout the year where they
Stretch of 7 games. I don't think they lost 4. No, I don't think so.
So the expectations are for this Bruins is that you basically can pencil them in as champions. Now I know they got to play, and if they don't, that's a bigger choke job than what the Celtics will do because no one has high expectations for them.
But I think looking at the future, the choke that the Celtics would have in back-to-back seasons would be more impactful on the players on your court because you look at Jason Tatum and you're like, all right, yeah, he's an unbelievable talent, but he's not getting it done when it counts for us, no matter who his coach is.
Right, but that's the same way for Pasta.
No, it's not.
If
because
Pasta
last
doesn't
season
perform-
we had two different coaches. They didn't do well under one coach. They're doing really well under another.
If Pasta doesn't
same
perform,
outcome
but if
for-
Pasta doesn't perform well in the playoffs,
Well, he's going to perform well. He's got 60 goals.
Right.
Right,
If he
but-
doesn't play well, I say they trade him.
No, the conversation will be, and you guys were the ones who told me that why'd they sign him. The conversation will be if Pasta don't play well in the playoffs, oh, here it is again.
Wait. Nobody here said 8 years, 80 mil. What was it?
No.
What's his contract?
8 years, 92 million or something
Everybody
like that.
said that was a great
Yeah.
deal.
Right, but you were saying there's been people pushing a narrative that they wouldn't have gave him
Yeah,
that
not
deal.
here though.
No, I'm not saying. I'm just when I say here, I mean Boston
Okay.
in general.
Okay.
Boston and in general. That the narrative for Pasta has been he hasn't been able to do it in the playoffs, right? So very similar to Tatum. Whereas if he doesn't perform well in the playoffs and they don't win, people are going to be pushing that narrative the same way you should be pushing it for Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
If Tatum don't perform well in the playoffs, again, we're going to be like, yo, all right, he's a great player, but it's the A-Rod effect. Great regular season player, but bro, when you going to do it in the postseason?